Get an air mattress to one of these races.
Okay, to me, it's like sitting like this and like announcing. Amazing.
Welcome to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. We are ready to bring you all the action here from Saturday. 11 hours of live content from the Clash at the Club. This is going to be an action-packed day of racing with a ton to talk about here. We're just getting things rolling here in the morning. The sun is still slowly working its way up and over the tree line, so we're about half shaded and half sunny on the racetrack at the MCC Kartplex with the KA Masters on track now here to kick things off for a quick round of practice before their first heat race of the day gets underway, folks. The day today features 3 total rounds of racing action for the semi-pro divisions, 2 rounds for the pro classes. The pro divisions will have 2 separate motos today to set their lineups for tomorrow's main events. The semi-pro classes will have 2 separate heat races. That will set them into pre-finals and then main events. The KA Junior and KA Stars classes once again have gone past the field cap of 40, so they'll be split in groups of 2 for the heat races, then split to a top 30 and then bottom half group for the pre-final. But 5 minutes roughly left here in KA Masters warm-up, and we're following the reigning series champ John Bonanno, who was pretty quick yesterday, but about 5 of them were all pretty close together. Himself, local driver Zach Corder on the Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic, Nicky Coelho on the Franklin Motorsports Merlin, and then just up the road here from John Bonanno as well, fast yesterday, was Andy Kutcher on that privateer Kutcher Brothers Racing Red Speed. So 2 of the fastest we're following around here for this quick little practice run to make a few overnight changes, make sure everything stays on the go-kart, nothing falls off, and then go back to the pit lane, take one final look at the data, the onboard video, and check a look at the tire wear and tire pressures of how they come in before you get your setup dialed for the action later on. But 4 minutes and counting, and they're already going to shuffle the boards here. Nicky Coelho goes back to the top, but Clay Settles will join the top 5 on the top cart. Tyler Prestel will also move up the ranks on that last time by on that AMAX Racing Tony kart. And as we key in on this KA Masters class, let's talk about some of the superstars here in the field. How about Clay Settles here? Last year, he made quite the impression on us at the Summer Nationals in Newcastle, Indiana, Caleb.
Yeah, no, for sure. Clay Settles had a really impressive year last year, won here at the Clash at the Club, so looks to go back-to-back here this weekend. And racing for something a little bit different, right? I became a father over the off-season break, and get to see Clay Settles back at the racetrack here this weekend. He was actually at the Route 66 Championship Series last weekend as well as Andrew, where you were out there on the KC grassroots side of things. So good to see Clay back here this weekend. But all these drivers have been chasing Nicky Coelho, like we said. He's going to start on the pole position for the heat races later on today.
Yeah, it was super cool. Last weekend, actually, before one of the heat races, Clay Settles got the call from his wife that he was going to be a father. This race 1 year ago, and 2-month-old baby T, she, I believe, will be here this weekend. I know his wife was able to bring her out to the racetrack at Whiteland Raceway Park as Clay hails from Indiana, so it was a hometown race for him last week. He told me last weekend that he's already been asking Blake Deister over at Top Kart USA how soon can they get that kid kart ordered for his new baby girl. So he is super ecstatic, I'm sure, to be back behind the wheel after having to take a brief hiatus at the beginning of the year. And like you said, Caleb, he has been super quick. And for a part-time racer, really it was his debut in a KA 100 package when he won at the Summer Nats in Indiana and then came back and was fast and won again here at MCC. So this weekend, he's not the quickest yet, but he is definitely in the mix. 6th place on the racetrack right now as they rank through morning warm-up. Zach Corder has gone actually all the way to the top by a 10th over John Bonanno. Clay will go on cue there quicker, and then Corder will go even faster. How about that? Zach Corder on that black and chrome Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic must be a little bit further back in the order. I can see him there 2 karts back from this one. Nicky Coelho, Jacob Neary, and there is Zach. He has spent a lot of time both behind the wheel and behind the camera lens. Many folks local to the MCC Kartplex are very familiar with Zach's photography work here and down the road at Newcastle Motorsports Park. You'll catch him behind the lens of a camera at a number of major events. He's run, from what I talked to him earlier this season, most of the club schedule. He's set to hopefully contend for the MCC Pro-Am Karting Challenge Championship. And, well, when a big race comes to town, you want to test yourself and test your mettle against the best in the country when they roll in. And there's 21 of them here this weekend for KA Masters, so a pretty stout field. Zach is better than them all by a fair margin. Half a second right now, roughly. Although it will slowly get better as Nicky Coelho will pass him up. And we've got problems down at turn 1. 2 off in turn 1. Clay Settles and Zach Corder have tagged the wall at the end of the front straightaway. Corder went wide and I think hit the marbles as he saw the yellow flags waving. Clay into the outside wall pretty hard. And both drivers, we just shown the spotlight on already. Yeah. We're 0 for 2 on them making it to the end of the session here, Caleb. So our luck obviously not boding well. Yeah, nice going there, Xander. So we'll see how it continues to play out for these drivers, and I'm sure they'll be back up there in no time. But unfortunate end to these drivers' first warm-up session. Still a lot of day left, right? A lot of racing action left. Only the morning warm-up, but definitely not how you'd want to start your day. And one of the big things I really want to point out, right, all these lap times at the moment, currently sitting in the 59 markers. It was a little different yesterday, but, I mean, the track temperature definitely going to continue to change, and the temperature here at the racetrack also going to change. We're at 71 degrees Fahrenheit here. Yesterday we were at 86 degrees, so almost a 15-degree difference to what we're going to see from this morning to later on in the day, and that all has to do with track evolution, the tires, and all the stuff that goes into putting on a race here. Alexander Searle is down on pit lane. He'll be getting us a ton of intel through the day. We'll see who he can chat with here in the morning, from drivers to team owners, mechanics, and the like, as there is a lot to break down from everything this weekend. And already we've had quite a bit go on. Even yesterday had a dry start to the day, a rain shower during the final couple sessions of final practice, then back to dry conditions by the time qualifying rolled in over the lengthy Friday, and we've got a lengthy day ahead here today as well. But things closed up at the end of that session. Nicky Coelho was able to just nip Corder. Corder actually, before the crash, put in a lap time that put him second, and only 300ths off Coelho. Settles was third at the end of the session. Jacob Neary fourth. Austin Queen on the QG3 karting Tony Kart ends fifth. Andy Kutcher sixth. John Bonanno down in seventh. Tyler Prestel, David Goldman, the round 1 winner, down in ninth. Greg Leahy on the TKG Kart Republic in 10th. Just under a second off. Then it's Scott Carapalati, Anthony Stifler, Peter Cook, Brant Estes, David Galonia, and company from our first warm-up session of the day. And here's a look back to the rest of the 19 that turned some laps. Kevin Simonelli, Marciano Santos, John Stanescu, and Ken Simonelli through the grid for KA Masters. But from the veterans, we go back down to the youngest stars, the Micro Swift division. That saw Easton Kubinski go as the fastest driver in qualifying to end off Friday afternoon with a pretty nicely positioned lap, a nice tow lap for him, and puts the AEM karting Tony Kart, that has been arguably one of the fastest karts on the racetrack at the last couple of Stars events, but yet to get that maiden national win to show for it. So hopefully this weekend could be a big turnaround for Easton. But already a bit of contact here to start the morning as you can see, the recovery vehicle will go and pick up the Kart Republic, a Zach Corder, in that top cart of Clay Settles, and move them off the racetrack. The barriers obviously got knocked in a little bit. They'll reset those to make a nice clean line. They did their job. They were able to, as you can see, the barriers moved and kind of absorbed the impact and absorbed the speed before the drivers would eventually get to that pit lane fencing, because there's just not a lot of room for error down at turn number 1. That has been a trouble spot every time we've come here, specifically not in a very, very high danger zone. Granted, we did see some crazy wrecks at the start of a couple of massive classes at the SCUSA Pro Tour, but more than anything, you're just on the limit. You're full throttle through the first corner, but you're barely able to keep it on the racetrack if you're driving that thing as fast as it can go. And it makes it really fun to watch for us, or the drivers that you can see are finding the edge and sometimes going just a tick over the edge down at the first corner, dropping a tire into the grass. You can see it's gotten a little bit, patches of dirt there from cars going off. But it's a really, really tricky driver corner, and one of many that puts the drivers to the limit in terms of G-load here at this racetrack, because not just turn 1, but the back section carries a lot of speed off that straightaway up and over the crest into that long sweeping corner, lays down a ton of rubber. It was a really interesting interview from Joe Ruck yesterday in Pro Masters after he put it on the pole, talking about how, this new iteration of MG tires, just as much as they're laying down rubber, if not more so, they're balling up pieces of rubber and pushing them off the line. So here at this track specifically, with the surface makeup, just like what we saw 2 weeks ago in Dowsman, Wisconsin at the U.S. Pro Kart Series event, if you get off that standard racing line, whether you get past or you miss the corner and you go to that second or that third groove or even down to the inside to make a pass, it will get very, very treacherous very fast, and it will take you a lot. Joe said even in one practice session he went wide and just pulled in. He said it wasn't even worth it to continue at that point.
Yeah, definitely some of the big points, right? And we're going to start seeing that in a race. Wherever you find yourself offline, it'll take you more than one lap to really seriously clean off those tires. So going to be something to watch here today, with a lot of passing, with a lot of side-by-side action through all these super tight and twisty corners here at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. And it really, whenever you look at the paddock, whenever you look at all the RVs on the fence line here this weekend, it really makes you think about some golf courses, right? We have a golf course right next door, but David Land made a good point last time we were here. This is really the Augusta of karting for us, right? A lot of greenery, a lot of scenery here this weekend, which is pretty cool to see.
Yeah, this place is absolutely gorgeous, and you can see plenty of people in the paddock enjoying the walk trail. They're around the outside of the wooden picket fence that surrounds the track. You can make a full lap yourself and go and walk around anywhere that you'd want. You can see there's a few that are watching there on that back straightaway right at the crest of the hill. We saw a couple there as this session rolled out here for Microswift that were watching at the exit of turn number 3. So there are so many vantage points around this racetrack. And again, check out this big talking point as well. We talked about the rubber laid down. There was a bit more track maintenance that put that rhino liner, that's that black sliver on the racetrack right in the center of the corner, just to patch the asphalt up a little bit. But that rhino liner patchwork, that has even more grip than the standard asphalt surface. And we learned that last weekend at Badger Kart Club in Dowsman, because there was so much rubber laid down on top of already a super grippy racetrack. Everybody was two-wheeling. Then the week before, you were on track at Pittsburgh International Race Complex.
Yeah.
They've got full rhino liner, about 2 cart widths worth, through every major corner from entry to exit, and it is another step above just a standard rubber lay down going on a asphalt surface. That stuff is super grip.
No, for sure. I mean, any little bit of input, if you don't have the setup right in the kart, you can definitely find yourself two-wheeling. A lot of drivers yesterday were mentioning that they found themselves on 2 wheels a little bit more often than they would like. The likes of Terlecki, the likes of Wheeler, other kind of bigger, taller guys right here this weekend. Josh Campbell as well, one of the ones who was kind of suffering from that. Don't see it too much in these in the lower speed, younger categories with micro and mini. So when you get up to either the junior or even the senior ranks, you're going to start seeing it just a little bit more.
Well, you've got bigger drivers, right? The weight shifting. The thing about kart racing is so much of the kart setup. What works for one guy doesn't work for another, and some of it is going to come down to driving style. A lot of it can come down to body English. Just the size and the build of your driver, how you lean in or out of the corners. You can see even Santi Orioli, his head kind of tilts over a little bit. He drops the outside shoulder. that all makes a big difference because the driver, especially in the full-size classes, is going to weigh more than the go-kart itself. The karts will weigh, anywhere from in the cadet classes 100 to 120 pounds. The full-size karts somewhere around 150 to 160. The shifters will weigh around 200. But again, the drivers in that class are going to, weigh anywhere from 140 to 200 pounds. And so again, where the driver shifts their weight, where you set the seat down to the millimeter, can make a massive difference in handling and a difference in how you have to set the go-kart up. Even talking with some of the drivers last night, how, difference in tire pressure, learning on the tire compound that, a taller driver that leans over a little bit in the center of the corner, just has that higher center of gravity, is going to build more heat into the tires, put more load into the outside tires through each corner. So, for example, a taller driver might be able to get away running 1 to 2 pounds lower on the cold air pressure setting of what they go out at, because their pressures will build much quicker than a smaller driver. In micro specifically, they're all around the same build size. You can see it looks almost identical from Orioli to Lawrence Perriman to yesterday's pole winner Easton Kubinski. But when you get into the junior classes, you see that big difference of the 14 to 15-year-olds that are very tall, like Enzo Vidmontien, to some of the new rookies that have moved up, like Tristan Murphy, that barely look like they could see over the steering wheel. Yeah. And you've got to set those karts up, as similar as you would, want to, but still probably a good bit different from a small driver to a medium to a tall or just overall bigger driver, because they all have to meet that same minimum weight, but the weight's different. You can see there on the back of the 91 with that great shot from behind, Jake Manolio has lead pucks, white pucks of lead to meet or exceed that minimum weight. So, for example, Annie Rule, she might as well have a refrigerator strapped onto that Magic cart. Whereas a driver like Danny Formal or AJ Myers, they're going to have about maybe 10, 20 pounds at the most. Well, Danny, normally it's right at 0 because he's always fighting weight because he's the big guy.
Yeah, for sure. So, very, very good point, right? James Overbeck, a smaller guy. Josh Campbell, the exact opposite, right? A little taller, a little bulkier, I guess I could say, and everything varies, right? And that's one thing that you even learned pretty soon, right? You've been back in the seat a little more with the TB South guys, and that's kind of one of the things that you learned, right? Teammates with Alex Stanfield over there, and kind of you almost want to do the same thing he's doing, but it may not always work for you.
Yeah, no, we have to run a little bit different. Normally I find myself running a bit higher on air because while Alex is a bit shorter than me, the difference again on style, me to him is vastly different, and his natural driving style builds heat a lot quicker than myself. And also, I'm going to fold that sidewall over a lot easier with that higher center of gravity as well. So I need that stiffer sidewall. I need that tire blown up a little bit more. But, you can attribute a good bit of that, too, to being a rusty, washed-up has-been. That's for sure. Minute 20 to go here in Microswift warm-up. We've been following along this pack of 3 recently here. That's Hudson Howard on the blue and yellow TKG entry at the end of it. In the middle, Jaden Francisco, the Canadian, has started to make some big waves. And at the front of this pack is Lennox Lockhart, the driver based out of South Florida, driving for PSL Karting and Bureau Art, has had one heck of a weekend so far. Inside the top 7 for nearly every single lap of qualifying, was able to pretty much stay with that fast group of drivers. Jaden Francisco ran by himself. He was the only one in the front 7 that put in a lap time without any tow at all. So we'll keep our eyes closely watching on the white and red Ryan Perry Motorsport Nitro kart there as he and Lennox trade the spot back and forth here in warm-up. And Lennox is going to eventually have to give way there as Jaden says, that's enough of that, and I'm going to make sure I get clear here at the end of the corner. So Lennox will now drop in behind Hudson Howard. But I was impressed by Lennox Lockhart's performance yesterday. For his first major event at the SCUSA Pro Tour in Orlando and then to come here to the Stars Championship Series event at MCC. If my memory serves me right, I think he's done 1 or 2 events since then on the national scale, but he's not been as active as the rest of the field when it comes to the big events. And you don't get rubbered up racetracks like this at your local home track with just 1 day of action and regular testing. This MCC Kartplex, this racetrack's only going to look like this one other time this year, and that's in a couple weeks when we come back from the U.S. Pro Kart Series. Even for a guy like Zach Corder, who calls this place home, they might know every way to position the kart racecraft-wise, but even some of the battle moves don't work when it's so dirty offline. You can't go wide for an over-under or send it around the outside because you just don't get this kind of condition with 60, 80 entries at a club event. You get it with 250 at a Stars Championship Series major over the course of 3 days of driving.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, there's also been a lot of rubber that's been laid down across the past couple of months, especially Rotex came here as Danny O'Gara on the back straight. Definitely not where you want to see him.
Odd place to go off, too. That's about halfway down the straightaway for Danny O'Gara in the 67. And I think they're just realizing that he's gone off. Again, he's over that blind crest off on the side. Makes me think that he must have been side by side with someone, and they must have popped tires for him to spin off and end up facing backwards that way. So he's trying to obviously get some help. The fact he hasn't gotten out of the go-kart shows that he's probably still good, but the dew in the grass here, the moisture overnight, has definitely made it all but impossible to drive back onto the racetrack under your own power. Thankfully, though, a little bit of help, and the 67 is back underway and able to roll while his teammate has rolled all the way up to second here with the checkered flag flying here in Micro Swift warm-up. Santi Orioli, 18 thousandths off of yesterday's pole man, Easton Kubinski, who once again tops the board. So that's 2 sessions in a row for AEM Karting to go quickest in Micro Swift. Marcelo Flores, what a turnaround here. We saw something definitely seemed to be amiss. He was dead last in qualifying, nearly 3 seconds off. Looks like Sebastian and the SLA group have got him rolling good. He's only a 10th off there in third.
Yeah, I think motor issues yesterday for Marcelo. Slept on the practice motor today, trying something different, whatever ounce of pace that they can find. And definitely working here in the morning warm-up. Third, Karaman across the line. Fourth, and Jaden Francisco, the driver who we featured there a little bit, crossed in fifth. Manalio sixth. Zane Burgess seventh. Katowski eighth. O'Gara after the spin, crossing ninth. And Lennox Lockhart in what I believe is his third national start here this weekend, running up your top 10 in Micro Swift. But already getting set to go green with our master shifters. Luis Quinones is going to lead him out in his factory car.
Master Shifter, much like KA Masters, has had a healthy contingent of just about 20 drivers at almost every event. This one is the lightest, and it's still at 15. And the entire top 5 were separated by just under 0.2 of a second in qualifying yesterday. It was actually very close. And kudos to Joe Ruck for a driver who self-admittedly says that, qualifying is probably his, weakest part of his game. And so for the number 1 plate to put it on the pole was a bit out of form, but definitely, I'm sure, a welcome surprise, if it was a surprise at all, but at least a welcome result for Joe Ruck, because we have seen him more times than not, it feels like, Caleb, this season alone, having to carve his way through the field. So he has plenty of experience if quali didn't go well, but now he's got the prettiest seat in the house to roll from. Yeah,
kind of. It seems like that's been the story all year long, right, with Joe Ruck, kind of going back and forth, either a mechanical issue sitting him on the back foot, but definitely a good weekend, and talking to him yesterday, felt like it was almost too good to be true, right? He's like, this weekend can't just go perfectly and smooth sailing all weekend long. So hopefully it goes that way for him, and he doesn't have to stress out too much on whether on worrying about the equipment here this weekend. But I'm sure he'll be good as he sets in a couple of burner laps here at the moment. Matt Machiko going to get around him, and Matt Machiko to finish second in qualifying after putting it in the grass yesterday was absolutely impressive, Xander.
Yeah, Matt Machiko on the outlap went off over in the S's. So we'll watch Joe Ruck here as he gets over to that section. And that was a trouble spot through practice, and it was still relatively damp, or at least low grip, for when the Pro Masters went out. But right here in that right-hander, it spun around on him, and he ended up in the grass before he got to that left 90 that sets him over the back straightaway and over the hump there into this long sweeper. He's able to pull that go-kart out of the grass, then refire himself, and then go out and, like you said, put it P2 and only a couple of hundredths off of Joe Ruck for the pole. So a very impressive run for Matt Machiko on the Magic Kart, and that kind of backs up the pace that we saw from him in Charlotte, and some, so-so pace compared to round 1 back at round number 2. Kept him kind of in that championship hunt here in Pro Masters that is probably one of the more open classes in the championship fight, because there have been so many different drivers that have had either good runs in heats, in the pre-finals, or in the main events to this point at the halfway mark in the season. Sketchy Barnes is another one of those that has a decent shot at the overall title. He's got a healthy margin in Rock Shifter Masters as that subcategory. Has himself, has Mike Rivera, and I believe has one more entered in this weekend. 3 in the aboard the Rock Power plants, but they're still competing and balanced by weight to the KZ Power drivers that are around the 600 numbers. Skitchy just has a chance at 2 championship trophies, not just 1 by entering in the rock category. And yesterday, another good run in quali. We'll have him starting healthily inside the top 5. I believe he ended in 3rd.
Yeah, so Skitchy Barnes starting 3rd on the, well, we still don't know what side they're going to start on, but from what we've seen, usually in the past, a lot of drivers like to start on the outside line here, just a little bit of a cleaner racetrack, and then the inside, you could either get the whole shot or get a lot of wheel spin there. So definitely going to vary whenever it comes down to it. But I mean, we've seen both sides of the starting grid have pretty good starts across all the series that come to town here at the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Still lapping around, Scott Presti, currently the quickest driver on the racetrack, a 54.860. And as I say that, Luis A. Quinones to the top in the factory kart.
Yeah, Quinones with a good lap there, and Mike Rivera as well, looking much better today on the black and white GFC. The 608 of Scott Presti we're following here on the VTM Racing Team Ralph Schumacher kart, inside the top 5 there in 4th. But we just needed to wait on the rest of the field to cycle by the line. Joe Ruck will go all the way to the top by nearly 4/10, bumping Quinones to 2nd. Matt Machiko also slipped up there into the top 5 once again on the Magic Kart, into 3rd on the 603. Just as it looked like we had some new players that might have been fast here in the warm-up, our pole man answers the call and goes right back to the top of the pylon. Scott Presti now back into 5th, 6/10 to find. Same for Jake Fetter. Bit of a bigger gap. Something definitely a bit off here, it looks like, for Skitchy. He's nearly a 2nd off. He's 4/10 off of Mike Rivera as well, so not sure where the speed has been lost overnight for Skitchy Barnes, or if he may be breaking in an engine, which is typical in the shifter classes. Less typical aboard the rock power plant, but you'll see many drivers and many teams opt to throw a new piston in overnight on the KZ class. That'll also mean that probably in that Pro Stars warm-up and potentially OKN Stars warm-up, we'll see a few of the major stars be a 2 seconds off, breaking in the new piston on the motor to go racing here today, which they are able to do in the FIA divisions for both KZ power plants and OKN. I'm not 100% sure if you're able to do that on a rock shifter engine, but as I say that, Skitchy just put in a good lap, went up to 5th, still 6/10 off Scott Presti, who just went to the top, but at least a little bit better now than fellow rock shifter master driver Mike Rivera. So Presti now the fastest car. Matt Machiko there here as we're following him on the Magic Kart, catching up to the other Luis Quinones, it looks, oh no, catching up to fellow Magic Kart Hugh Templeman. He'll go by him down the front straightaway. Caught him a bit awkwardly there in the back, so he didn't get to get a good lap in. Joe Ruck did, though. He's just behind the 2 of them, and the number 1 has re-inherited that number 1 spot on the leaderboard. 400's better than Presti.
Yeah, and I spoke to Scott Presti last night. He finished 5th in the qualifying session. When I went up to talk to him, he wasn't too happy about his qualifying, right? He, in his exact words, "I'm not here to run around in 5th. I'm here to win." So good to see him have pace set to be up, I guess, on the front row in this warm-up session. So made changes overnight, so let's see if they work whenever we get into racing action. Going fast over one lap is one thing, and it's its own beast, but doing it in a race, going wheel to wheel, having to shift gears and not make mistakes is a whole different.
And this is a super physical racetrack that tests the drivers quite a bit. There are a ton of gear shifts, and that right-hander they just exit out of is a first gear corner, which, first gear is, if you would have asked the drivers a preference, strictly a launch gear. It is so tricky to get out of that last corner onto the front straightaway without making a mistake. To do it consistently lap after lap is tough. Going 2nd through 6th, that's not a problem. Those are more so lapping gears. But you get to a racetrack like this that has a very long straightaway and then a very tight hairpin like that last corner, and you just have to use first gear to get out of it. I talked with AJ Myers last night a little bit about the Rhino liner and the grip going through. He's like, you would think, yeah, more grip, we can carry more speed in the center of the corner, but to be honest, it actually kind of slows us down a little bit because you kind of get stuck in the rubber more so. That corner radius is still just so tight that no matter how much rubber gets laid down or how much Rhino liner you put in that back hairpin, you're going to still have to use first. But now you're not able to probably arc it into the corner as much as you would like. You're going to have to, really kind of enter narrow, pivot almost as if you come to a stop, and then straighten the cart back out and launch out of the turn in first. Joe Ruck obviously did it the best here in Shifter Masters over Presti, Machiko, Luis A. Quinones, Jake Fetter, your top 5 down by 4/10, and then the gaps start to open up back to Rivera and Barnes. Mike ended up getting to go a little bit better than Sketchy at the end, so he's the quickest of the 500 number plates, the Rock drivers. Gouache, Frank, Quinones, Templeman, and John Ditzelwig, as we're down a couple in the warm-up from all of our Shifter Masters. But the first of our 2K junior groups is gearing up to go green onto the racetrack now. As they roll out, we're going to take a moment here to step away. We'll take a quick commercial break here during the out. Oh, looks like one driver might have tagged the barrier there going on the racetrack, but we'll let the KA juniors get their out laps underway. We will return with more warm-up action here from the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. You're watching Kart Chasers coverage of Clash at the Club.
This is Henry. Henry feels sad. Henry feels sad because it's time for his next big race and his go-kart is in bits. Henry doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing is the United States' #1 shop for all of your karting equipment needs. Henry also doesn't know that Acceleration Kart Racing can deliver anything from tires to race suits and even wheels directly to your front door or to the racetrack itself quickly and efficiently, with tech support available 6 days a week. Poor Henry doesn't even know that Acceleration Kart Racing offers free shipping to mainland USA on selected product if you spend $200 or more. Do yourself a favor. Go to accelerationkarting.com and make sure that you are never left stuck on the pre-grid with Henry. Be smart and don't be like Henry.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Kart Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Kart Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack. Pedal cam to show you where to brake and when to accelerate, and 360-degree footage to make sure you don't miss any parts on the racetrack. We've covered 13 racetracks in the United States. And Australia, you're up next. So visit kartclass.com to get your track information.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today. Welcome back to MCC Kartplex. KA Junior, the first group of 2 on circuit here for morning warm-up. And here is the fastest couple so far. The Race Lab Karting TBs of Tai Fisher and Travis Pettit topping the boards, and Jackson Deal and John Antonino Jr. on the MPG Motorsports Kart Republics right there with them. Although a good lap from Sebastian Risk will move up into the top 5 and split that grouping up. But they are obviously spread apart pretty decently right now on lap times, as the KA Juniors are just getting a feel for the racetrack here. We're just starting to get more sunlight down in that infield hairpin turn number 7, but we're still pretty shaded here in the far right-hand section of the racetrack. So turn 4 and then that left-hand 90 before going over the hill, and even into the braking zone here to this left-handed sweeper is shaded, and that will definitely you'll feel that as a driver, the difference of track surface temperature by 10 to 20 degrees being in the sunlight and baking versus shaded by the tree line. So that'll change through the day. Right now it's almost, I wouldn't say a full mixed condition racetrack, but it probably feels like that a little bit, and I would not be surprised if the lap times jump by a second or at least half a second from what they just ran to where they end up by the end of the final lap of the session.
Yeah, definitely still a little bit off here. 58.987 for Tai Fisher. And And like you said, you talk about temperature. I'm no astrologist or meteorologist, whatever you want to call it. It's 73 degrees right now. We have a high of 90 degrees later on today, so it's definitely going to change as the day progresses, Xander.
Give it a few laps here, and you'll see some more names move up the leaderboard. But let's update the few ones that have joined us in the top 10. How about a big lap out of Ben Abernathy? He'll jump to third. The TBs are still the two quickest right now, just behind these two. That's Jackson Deal and Antonino going by. There's Travis Pettit, second overall right now. Fisher just behind him. And, we've got problems for the 8:15 BJR MDR entry of Isaac Nolan off on the infield. He had some issues in final practice, if memory serves me right as well. And we've also got problems. Is that Nathan Golseth on the 869 Arcane Tony Kart? It looks like he's lost the left rear tire. So Golseth out in the infield as well. And that's why teams and drivers like to have a warm-up session, Caleb, to make sure that that does not happen in a session that counts like a heat race.
Yeah, no, for sure. For all drivers and mechanics or whatever, just trying to knock out whatever gremlins in and get nice and warmed up. Not just for the drivers, right? The mechanics as well. It all has to do with making sure everything's on the go-kart, making sure everything stays on nice and tightly and nothing falls off. So unfortunate start to Golseth's morning here early on, but a much better morning warm-up and a much better lap times for Tai Fisher and Travis Pettit than yesterday, working up to the top of the timing charts here. A little bit of an off qualifying for them yesterday, considering where we've seen them all year long. The overall qualifying results here show them just outside of the top 10. Tai Fisher 15th, and Travis Pettit, I believe, was even further down than that. So unfortunate for them, but I know Travis Pettit was 17th here, so on the overall qualifying. So, I mean, a good start considering the circumstances from yesterday, but Landon Boer was the quickest driver overall yesterday at 58.345. At the moment, we're 2/10 off of that, so lap time still continuing to grow as Paulie Massimino there watching on some of his drivers from the fence line.
Yeah, the BJR MDR driver has still a little more time left before he has to hop behind the wheel of his OKN Stars machine. He put it on the pole yesterday. Said he felt like by the end of the weekend for the SCUSA Pro Tour here at MCC, they found a pretty good kart setup on the MG Yellows. And we heard even as well from Nick Terlecki talking about, how running, even though the OKN package is a vastly different package on paper, being direct drive versus clutch driven and different on the power band than, let's say, the IAME X30 that's used for the pro single speed class in SCUSA and USPKS competition. That running the same tire and still running a 125 power plant allows you to, bring a lot of crossover knowledge and notes from series to series. So Paulie said he felt like they had a great setup here from a month ago, and it showed as he put it on the pole in qualifying for OKN Stars. And you need a bit of data like that and just to have a good setup in general, because with only 3 practice sessions before they qualify, you don't have a lot of time to, open Pandora's box and try to make a bunch of changes. You need to roll off the truck with already a pretty good baseline setup and make minor tweaks, work on maybe a little bit of carburation, a little bit of gearing, and a little bit of driving. But you can't make wholesale changes on Friday. You have the time to do it, but you just don't have the number of test sessions to make that stuff happen. You've got to do your homework and roll up to a Stars Championship Series event ready to rumble. And Paulie was there. And so is Tai Fisher as he ends up fastest here at the end of KA Junior's opening group warm-up. Max Weiland, 4.5 tenths back. That's a big gap for Tai Fisher on the Race Lab TB. Travis Pettit ends up third. Antonino fourth. Deal fifth. Abernathy, Homer Heyman, Tristan Murphy, Sebastian Rist, and then Golseth before the tire came off put it in the top 10 on the Arcane Tony Kart. So he ends up just ahead of Emerson Lane, Indy Anderson, Cameron Marcia, Maximo Karam, and Thomas Anthony, the top 15. Here's the rest of Group B for KA Junior: Ezekiel Height, John Michael Dunnigan, Kennedy Tracy, Wyatt Smith, Davis Henry, Jude Thurmalaswamy, Charlie Myers, Isaac Nolan, and Julian Pollard on the 831 Timmy Tech Comp Cart. So by the numbers, it looks like we'll have about 18 in their beat pre-final. 10 will transfer, 8 will not. And it'll make, again, everyone doing the math on their own through the day in the heats as to whether or not they ended up in the top 30 in points, which is going to be roughly a 15th place finishing average or better. Let's take a look here while they clean the racetrack before KA Junior Group A rolls out for our official track map presented by Kart Class. And we'll also be able to show you some more close-ups of the turns and some of the key points here, Caleb. But we've already talked about it a little bit. Turn 1, where you start the lap, you're already at full speed down that massive straightaway, that run coming out of turn 14 that sets you up to start your lap. For the shifters and even the OKNs, they're going to be brushing the brakes maybe right around the timing line and then hanging on right up to the exit curve through turn 1 before you get really hard on the brakes down at turn number 2. 2 major passing opportunities. Turn 1 due to that long straightaway with the slipstream, and turn 2 with the major braking zone that takes you into that hairpin before you then power back up through turn number 3.
Yeah, then you go back to another one of the big major passing zones in turn number 5. Another hairpin, so a big run out of turn number 3. You go into, turn number 4. The hairpin here, where we've seen a lot of passing, a lot of wrecks go that happen here as well, but very good racing action through this entire section that sets you up for another one of the big passing zones into turn number 5, 6, and then 7, the other hairpin where we see a lot of moves down the inside in this hairpin. Yeah,
the official alpha timing hairpin there in the infield, and you have to get down to single file for the S's section. This left, right, left, and then a little bit of a run all the way down into that final left-hand corner. This turn has seen quite a bit of rubber laid down. Check out how dark the line is through that left 90, and if you want to get aggressive, that's probably the sketchiest corner to pass in, but we've seen it done plenty of times over before you crest the hill and head down into this flat-out sweeper where you've got to kind of still exit somewhat narrow, because otherwise you'll open the door down into turn number 13, the first of the switchback hairpins, and one of those corners we've talked about and shown you that rhino liner. That's that dark black sliver of extra track sealer to be in the center of the corner, and there's some of it laid down that's kind of shiny right there on the inside of turn 14 as well. So then that sets you up. Turn 14, we mentioned, was first gear in the gearbox carts to line onto the straightaway. The engines have fired, a couple carts still to be recovered off the racetrack, so that gives us a moment to go down to pit lane with Alexander Searle. He's standing by with one kid that figured it out by nearly half a second over the rest of the field. Alex?
Thank you, Xander. I think figured it out is a bit of an understatement here for Tai Fisher. You were pretty quick in qualifying yesterday, didn't have a buddy. This morning, you found a bit of drafting partners. Does it feel as good as yesterday?
Yeah, the kart feels good, the track feels good. It's gotten a lot grippier. And yeah, I just had a good draft on the last lap. In qualifying, I didn't have as good of a draft or a push. So we should be good for the heats and set up for the final.
Hey, you mentioned the track grip. I mean, the sun is already baking. It's barely 9 a.m. as it stands right now. What did you learn from yesterday's track progression that you could take into today?
Yeah, I just know that the track's going to really grip up around noon, and then it's going to start to grease up. Hopefully it can grease up sooner so then it doesn't overgrip, because it's getting really hard and physical to drive on.
Thank you, Ty.
Thank you, Alex.
Interesting point there, and that kind of tracks with a lot of the characteristics of the racetracks that we go to where we lay a lot of rubber down. Is when the rubber is nice and cold, like here in the morning, is when the track is the fastest, when there's so much grip and you can carry so much speed. And when he's talking about the physicality part, sure, there are a few bumps around this racetrack. You can see the karts kind of bounce in the braking zone at certain areas, or where the rubber is almost patchy through the corner. You can see a little bit of uneven in the surface, but more than anything, the physicality comes from the high G load. I mean, again, how fast they roll through turn 1, how fast they're jumping in the air through the S's section, and that long sweeper. I mean, that works your neck, that works your core, your entire upper body is really put to the test here. And hearing from Ty, it is cool to see the humility out of a driver as fast as him say, hey, it's getting hard to drive out there. You know, he's not coming off saying it's easy. He's being open and honest with us, and we appreciate that because it's a great bit of insight for all the viewers at home of what these drivers go through to get around fast here at MCC.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy, especially driving to the speeds that these young drivers do it at. Chase Gassioli, the driver on our screen here, running double duty this weekend, coming off a big win in the OKNJ class last time out at the King of the Castle at Newcastle Motorsports Park, round number 2. But here, round number 3 looks to go a little better in the KA100 Junior class. If we have one driver off the racetrack, that's the 813 of Mason Kuhn. Unfortunately, in his debut weekend with the Bennett DPK Americas team. So unfortunate start to his morning warm-up session, but lap time starting to come in, and Enzo Vidmontien, top of the timing charts. Chase Gassioli, who we saw earlier, second. Dupuis with new colors across the line in third. Tyrone Kemper Jr. fourth. And Utsi across the line in P5. We have about 53 drivers total in the KA100 Junior class this weekend. So a lot of drivers definitely fighting for whatever a little bit of real estate that they can get.
Yeah, so even more than what I estimated. That'll mean 13, sadly, will not make it into the big show on tomorrow afternoon, and it'll be a 23-driver B pre-final. Now, the A pre-final, the first 30 spots will get sorted this afternoon, but the B pre-final will run tomorrow. So everyone is still going to get to drive on all 3 days of action here at the Stars Championship Series Clash at the Club. But depending on how your weekend goes, 13 of the 53 sadly will not get to run the final session of the weekend, and that's the 40-driver main event. We are following Nathan Dupuis in his new black and orange Sodi Racing USA colors, and it's a double program for him. He's now found a home with Sodi Kart, both for his KA100 and X30 Junior action here, as well as with low-key racing over in the CKNA Majors. So the 3 major 206 events here in the States, as well as I'm sure probably some events up in Canada. With the, I'm trying to remember the names escaping me here, Caleb, of the Canadian-based Sodi dealer that has a number of drivers. I think it's, might be SRA. That is the team up in Canada that Harley Keeble spends a good amount of time still helping them out, even though he has since migrated his racing and driving endeavors to Inter MS. But Nathan Dupuis, we'll be seeing a lot of him and a lot of him in orange from here on forward. However, in the orange and green and white, Enzo Vidmontien has definitely put his colors on display this year. Quite a few wins, but yesterday in qualifying a bit off the pace from where he would like to be. And it seemed more than anything else that they just kind of missed on carburation. The K100 motors, I feel like even more than the Mini Swifts and probably more than the X30s by just a hair, are very narrow in their window of the fuel load that the motors like to run at. If you end up a little bit too lean where there's not enough fuel going into the motor, or a little bit too rich where there's too much fuel coming in, then you're going to end up a little bit down on power one way or another. And the drivers are able to monitor that not only by the onboard gauge that shows them the live exhaust temperature, which is what they'll normally tune the carburation on, but if you have a lot of experience and you spend a few days testing and learning yourself, and you can listen, you can hear and tune it almost like an instrument. You know, you see musicians, playing a guitar, and they'll twist on tuning the guitar in. You do the same thing if you've got enough confident in your own ability of what sounds right and what feels right to reach your hand in front of the motor and twist those needles. You're not going to turn them more than even probably an eighth of a turn, and it could make all the difference in the world. We saw Enzo really go to work with that in one of the sessions in Wisconsin 2 weeks ago. He put it on display great. He went straight backwards. I think he started second at the end of the opening lap. He fell back as far as eighth. Tuned on it, made adjustments, eventually found the right setting, and then drove back up the grid to end up, I believe, second or third at the end of it all. And then eventually, of course, in the main event in KA, he crossed the line first. Sadly, didn't make it through post-race tech inspection off of squish, which is a measurement that most drivers or most engine builders play pretty close. So, that's I wouldn't say a non-DQ DQ, but it's something that everyone is trying to go right up to the limit on, and sometimes you end up 1,000th or 2,000ths over the measurement.
Yeah, no, for sure. And speaking of DQs, last night, after the pro qualifying, AJ Myers and Michael Riccio DQ'd in post-race tech. So unfortunate for those two drivers who got to start from the tail end of the field and have to work their way up. And that's really going to take a blow to A.J. Myers in his championship hopes here.
Yeah, because he needs every point that he can get. He comes in at least with a healthy advantage of 83 markers back to last year's champion, Talon Yockel. AJ seemed definitely a bit, deflated last night, kind of shrugged his shoulders. He's like, man, I couldn't even tell you. But, I've started in the back before here. It's going to be good for you guys, so, keep the cameras on because I'm going to have some fun on the onboard footage. But yeah, he and Michael Riccio rolling from the rear of the 20-plus in Pro Stars as we see Landon Boer, yesterday's top qualifier, his first career national pole award, hot off of the momentum that he's been riding last weekend, second at the Route 66 Sprint Series at his home racetrack at Whiteland Raceway Park. And then as well, when we were at Newcastle, his other home racetrack from Indiana, for the King of the Castle, he was leading laps, led up until he got shuffled out of line, led, I think, one lap of the main, just wasn't the right one. But he has been making some serious strides forward. In this session, you just saw him pull into the pit lane without completing that final lap. He's 6th in the group, 3/10 off. His teammate, Caleb Tarter, a bit up the road in 2nd. And Nathan Dupuis, fastest at the end of KA Junior Group A warm-up over Tarter. Chase Gassiet Lee, 3rd. Vid Montien, 4th. Looks a little better here in the morning. Tyrone Kemper Jr. we're following. He's currently 7th as the privateer red speed driver. Ends up about 3.5 off the pace of the Sodi Kart at the top. Roman McCurdy ends up behind him in 8th. Boer and Gabriel Balog there 5th and 6th. The top 5, a 10.5 spread, and then another 10.5 back to P6 alone. And behind McCurdy, you'll find Isaac Malk-Hewitt on the PSL Karting Bureau Lart, one of the major contenders in junior for both KA and OKNJ. And then Kai Mars on the TKG Kart Republic rounds off the top 10 ahead of Ben Cranston, Ryan Moore, Chris Utzi, Derek Wargo, Jacob Scheible. And then you go back down the order to Isabella Simpson, Luke Fedowitz, Casey Mosley, then Luca Gomez, Gage Harden, Jeremiah Thomas, and Connor Corsi on the Timmy Tech Comp Kart. A few more karts to be recovered. But more are loading off of the kart stands and onto pit lane. The Swift Stars are rolling out onto the racetrack next, and then the first of the 2 KA Stars classes will roll. I'm not sure, Caleb, you could correct me here. Which do we, I believe we might have a couple more in KA Stars and KA Junior this week, but they're both somewhere right around that 53 marker that KA Junior you said was at.
Yeah, so we had 53 in our KA 100 Junior class. In our KA Stars, we have 54, so one more driver in the KA Stars senior category. So still very, very big classes, and a lot of people are going to be going home early, unfortunately, tomorrow.
Yeah, so that'll make those B pre-finals fun to watch for sure. First thing in the morning here. A long day ahead of us, folks. Right now you're watching our free coverage. If you were able to watch qualifying, you're able to watch that for free as well. There's one little typo here on our bottom board. But you can see warm-up began at 7:30 a.m. here about an hour and a half ago. We've still got a few more classes to run through. Mini Swift, KA Stars has 2 groups to run. OKN Junior will run. Then I believe we will go into heat number 1 before the warm-up for the pro classes. They have to wait till, I believe, 11 a.m. or noon. But the first heat races will get underway. That'll be exclusive to KC Premium members beginning at 10 a.m. Eastern here in about probably looking more like 30 minutes. We're a little behind schedule. Then they'll go into heat number 2. The Pro Moto 1 at the top. Runs at 2:50. Pro Show Moto 1 in the middle of the bottom at 3:40 p.m. That's actually the A pre-finals. So the semi-pro classes will run heat 1 at 9:10 all the way through the order. 12:25 for heat 2. 3:40 p.m. they'll run their pre-finals for the top 30 or the overall if the class is under the 40 driver kart count. And then Pro Moto 2 will cap off the day at 6 p.m. more or less with OKN Stars and Pro Stars. But that's a look. It's a full day of action, a lot of racing. Again, tomorrow, B pre-finals, and then all of the main events, concluding with the Mazda Motorsports Pro Show for OKN Stars and Pro Stars. Here's a look at that schedule for Sunday. Again, the warm-ups to kick the day off will be free to view to kind of get a taste of what it looks like here at MCC. But all of the racing action exclusive to KC Premium members. If you want to be able to watch that, make sure you hit that join button at the bottom of your screen for $9.99 a month. You get all of our racing action here. We have next week the Maxxis Midwest Nationals in Minnesota, and then in 2 weeks the SCUSA Pro Tour Summer Nationals. So if you sign up now, you got all of that racing. The week after that, another doubleheader with the IKF Grand National, the Road Tax Trophy East Series. There's the Indy Karting Challenge at Whiteland Raceway Park. There's the Motorsports Country Club Pro-Am Karting Challenge here, the local track championship as well. We've got a lot of racing. We were doing the numbers here. This is weekend number 25 on the year for us. We've got somewhere around 20 more to go, plus a number of other minor events that will fill the calendar. So it's a lot of action, and if you're watching along on your Apple iPhone device or iPad or Mac, make sure that you do sign up on an Android or on a PC, because if you try to sign up on an iOS device, it will charge you an extra $3 a month. We don't see that. You don't need to pay that. Make sure you sign up initially on a PC or Android for $9.99. If you see $12.99, that's the wrong price. Don't pay that. Save yourself the extra $3 a month if you'd like to. Just a quick tip on the inside as we watch a few moves down the inside there. Marco Samet making one of them on Grayson Walcott, and the Swift Stars will head to the start-finish line to begin their warm-up session here with 3 more groups still to run, 2 KA Stars classes, and then OKN Junior to go afterwards, as someone has lost a chain guard on the back straightaway. And that is right in the middle of the racing line. Caleb, over under on if that gets plowed out of the way?
$20. $20 it gets hit on the way. We can shake on it right now. Actually, no, I don't have $20 cash on me, so we're not going to bet on that. But if I did, I definitely would take the over that it gets hit probably 2 times.
All right, fair enough. I'm gonna take your word for it and not take the bet. So let's see what happens when this group gets by. They're about to crest the hill. There's the chain guard. Let's see. Watch this. All right, the first few are gonna miss it. Who's gonna hit it? Oh, one just snagged it right there. That was I think Katowski. Yeah, the 192 of Nico Katowski sent that chain guard flying over the fence line. Should be no damage, just a little plastic piece. But a funny moment there, as sadly, we've seen a couple tires come off. Now we've seen someone not tighten those 2 10mm nuts on the chain guard, and someone's lost one there on the backstretch.
Yeah, unfortunate start there. I'll take my $20 later on in the weekend, but yeah, unfortunate there for that chain guard.
You ain't taking nothing from me. I did not stake on that bet at all.
All right. Anyway, we continue rolling here with the Swift Stars. Josh Bergman making some moves. And already lap times, still not relevant. A 102.640 for Marco Samet, after having a stint over in Europe last weekend and made the trip back out here to the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati. Samet finished second in the qualifying session yesterday. Holden Myers was his driver, who's starting on the front row and on the pole position. A 101.732 was the fastest qualifying time yesterday. So we'll see what those lap times look like here in this morning warm-up session. We see the track just get that little bit faster. Tai Fisher was only 0.2 off of the fastest lap in qualifying, and he was really, I think, 0.3 quicker than the entire field whenever you blend them together. But the Stars still out here and rolling around.
Yeah. Let's see if the times change a lot on the second lap. I'm sure they will. I don't know how much the names will. Bergman to the top. Katowski to fourth. Gleverman shuffled to fifth. Alexis Kutcher, or Andy Kutcher there or Alex Kutcher, sorry. Alex Kutcher. Mixed it up, got it on the third time. Alex Kutcher there into sixth. Grayson Walcott seventh. Braden Westfall eighth. Parker Ives, Isaac Payne, the top 10. Brandon Eng has taken the experience from racing here a month ago for his first time. The Pacific Northwesterner with the Catalyst Driver Development at Kart Group, running safely in the top 10 here in warm-up as he leads the train and tows around the fastest car in Josh Bergman on that bright yellow helmet. So Brandon Eng on that black and gray Kart leading a number of quick cars here. Marco Samet third on the boards is also in that pack out in front. Let's see how much they change this time. To the line, 3 minutes plus the final lap to go, and Marco Samet will benefit off the tow of both cars in front. He'll go fastest. Parker Ives will join him, and Parker finding himself about mid-grid right now on the silver helmet and that red and white nitro kart for Ryan Perry Motorsport. Parker Ives yesterday was the driver that was the nice guy. He towed everyone around for qualifying, didn't drop back at all, and today and we talked actually with team owner Ryan Perry after that qualifying. He said that, yeah, usually Parker's pretty receptive to our signals, but this weekend we're trying to get him to think for himself and make decisions on the racetrack, and he just went out and kind of put it on autopilot instead of repositioning himself. He was driving good, but when you don't have a toe in Mini Swift, you end up where he did, 9th.
Especially on a racetrack with two very, very long straightaways, the front main straight and then the back straightaway here. So you can take your lap around. He's slated to start 6th later on today, so on row number 3 on the outside. So we'll see what Parker Ives can do from there, but they still lap around. Just under 2 minutes to go left in this morning warm-up session here. And lap times continue to change. Samet to the top, a 101.915. Holden Myers 2nd. Bergman 3rd, Ives 4th, and Ben Gleverman rounding up your top 5. So 2 Nitro Ryan Perry Motorsports machines up there and inside of the top 5. And a really good weekend for Ben Gleverman this weekend, really getting into the mix here, and I believe it's his best national qualifying finish so far this year.
Yeah, this is a new step forward, much like we were talking with the Micro Swift driver Lennox Lockhart to go home in between the Stars events. These drivers don't just go and sit on the couch. They go back, they review their video, and then they also try to get some laps in at their local track and train, run some club races, run some regional races, and it makes it fun for us to see these young drivers all of a sudden the next week show up to the racetrack again and be performing at another level. As sadly, Cade Wolf, on the other hand, bit of an issue there at the end of the S's. You saw him all the way in the grass, getting some help to get pushed back onto the racetrack here. He'll spend the rest of this warm-up probably by himself, as the leaders are only headed into turn number 4 and out. Marco Samet now holding the fastest time and leading that first pack. This group led by Nico Katowski, who was at one point 3rd or 4th. He's faded down to 7th. Ives up to 4th. Gleverman 5th. Josh Bergman is 3rd, and Holden Myers, who was great yesterday in qualifying as well, ending up on the pole on the Timmy Tech Comp Kart. He is 2nd here in warm-up, so good speed for the 1-3-6. There's a move in the middle of that group. Is that Gleverman, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, was trying to get by Grayson Walcott and got kind of tripped up trying to make the move, so he'll drop to the end of the pack.
Yeah, back of the pack there for Ben Gleverman, but he is going to have a pretty good toe, and you're already starting to see all the marbles on the outside there of this turn number 1. Everybody cycling through, and checkered flag is out this time by. Samet took it all the way down to Alex Kutcher, who's in 10th. AJ Stoner, I believe, has one more. Cameron Johnson, currently 12th, coming off a big win last weekend at the Route 66 Championship. So I'm going to see him here this weekend in his Franklin Motorsports Merlin. But everybody going to work their way into the pits. As it stands, Marco Samet, quickest driver on the racetrack in this morning warm-up session, a 101.915, 2/10 off of his qualifying time. A 10th off of his qualifying time yesterday afternoon. So that track, very, very quick here this morning.
And we're going to get some more rubber laid down on it here shortly as well. 54 KA Stars drivers are on grid and ready to roll, split in 2 groups. OKNJ still to go before we get into heat racing action. Again, folks, that was slated for 9:10 a.m. There's still a little more time before we come back with more action here. But before we go to the next group, let's go down to one of the KA Stars who is standing by with Alexander Searle and has had plenty of success at this racetrack before, and that is one of the 2 parts of War Power Racing, Eli Warren. Alex, we'll send it down to you and catch up with our KA Stars superstar, Eli.
Thank you, Xander. Well, Eli, I'd say it was a solid day yesterday until you went through post-race tech and then figured out you put the wrong bit of fuel in. So, what are you looking at this today in terms of all of a sudden you realize you have a top 10 go-kart, but you're at the tail end of the grid?
Yeah, we're just going to try to get through the field. We're starting like 25th in both heats, which is not too bad, honestly. With the way they split up the heats, we're kind of lucky with that. So I just got to get through lap 1 clean, and I'll probably get like 5 or 6 of those spots because people are going to wreck, obviously. And then every lap, I just got to get 1 spot, and I can probably get up into the top 10 in each heat race, which hopefully will put me around 20th for the pre-final. And you start the final where you finish the pre-final, so if I just keep on going, I could start the final in the top 10, and you never know what can happen in this class. It's always a fight, so it's like if I'm starting top 10, I can fight for a win.
you were one of the standout drivers at Dalsman there, and your first start in the national scene of the X30 class. Did you learn anything from that weekend that you can kind of transition into your racing style moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, those drivers make no mistakes, and it really taught me how to drive hard. You got to be really smooth on the wheel, which is what I've been learning. And the faster class in the X30, it makes the KA feel really slow. So it's like I'm able to go through the KA slower, and it feels better. It's kind of like when I do the 206, everything feels so slow, and I can think faster. And it's like it feels like KA feels like that now.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you.
Yeah, so very, very good point there by Eli Warren. Just everything kind of slowing down for him here after making his X30 Pro debut last weekend at Badger Kart Club for the United States Pro Kart Series, and he returns here this weekend. And unfortunately, a DQ for Eli Warren in qualifying yesterday for, I think it was wrong fuel. I spoke to his dad, Keith Warren. They had the same fuel that they ran at Route 66, obviously different fuel here this weekend, and unfortunately got DQ'd for that. So just a mistake there by I guess, team chief Keith Warren, and he was very disappointed about it. But Eli, he's going to have a good time having to work his way through the field here, Xander.
Yeah, he'll have some fun. This track has provided a lot of different races through the KA class. We've seen a handful of runaways. We've seen definitely some white line racing and pack racing for sure, and plenty of last lap drama. So if this race comes into any bit of a battle through those heat races, they're long enough, like Eli said, he could pick up a few spots off natural attrition. He's definitely fast enough to pass a number of cars to get to about mid-grid or so. And, you get really 3 stages to this weekend. Ooh. As wow, did Gio Santora get up into the air, making a move there inside of that second to last hairpin. That was right onto the Rhino liner. He was on the racing line, but when he put that much wheel into it, naturally, without a differential, a kart has to lift the inside tire for a split second to rotate. But if it starts lifting that tire too much, it takes the whole left side of the kart up with it. Caleb, you had some experience on 2 wheels,
yeah,
but not on a bike. On a go-kart, it's not fun.
Yeah, no, definitely not fun. Everything just kind of gets light. You feel you feel yourself kind of go weightless for a couple of seconds, and the only way to bring that kart back down is to turn the other way. So whenever you go up in the air turning left, turn the kart right, and it'll sit back down. But you're going to lose a lot of time doing that, lose a lot of momentum, and you're definitely just going to have either a change of underpants or whatever it is, because it is a very, very scary experience, and especially you could even grip flip at that point too, right? But it's just very different, kind of backing up the corners with the amount of grip here at the racetrack, and he's still kind of jacking, and that rear left wheel still continues to go up a little bit in the air, but not as bad as having both of them up in the air, Xander.
Well, we talk about the limit, right? Most of the time, the limit is how fast you can go through the turn without going off the racetrack or going slower. Sometimes when you have so much grip in the racetrack where you're going to 2-wheel it, the limit is keeping 3 wheels on the ground. One driver that has definitely tested the limits this weekend in a way he probably would not have liked to was Brandon Lemke. He had a very scary moment in final practice, then rebounded and qualified actually pretty well. He's standing by down with Alex.
Thank you, Xander. A tale of 2 halves for you yesterday. I mean, on one end, you threw a fence. The other time, you're inside the top 10. So how would you sum up your day yesterday?
I think it was just kind of figuring out the kart and everything, kind of getting comfortable again in the OTK. Figuring out, we're all by ourselves this weekend, so just TJ and I, my mechanic, just trying to figure it all out. So I don't know. We're having fun. We're just chilling. We're doing our own thing. So I think I like it a lot better that way. So yeah, I don't know, on track stuff. We're just trying to figure it out pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, when under the Franklin team, you're still kind of by yourself in the X30 side of things, and even the K side of things. Whenever you race with them, being a privateer, I mean, what are some of the things that you've been done differently? Because you're used to both sides of it, but it seems like you enjoy it more as a privateer, is what you're saying.
Yeah, to me, it's a lot more relaxing. I guess you could say, I don't know, I don't really care for people that much. I'm more just be by myself sort of thing, just do things by myself, and I don't know, that way it's a lot more entertaining for me and just relaxing. And TJ is the same way, my mechanic, so it really works out well, and I think it's more fun that way, and then the results are better that way too. So it's just, everybody's different, and that's just my thing, and that's how I have fun.
With your experience in the KA class, I mean, do you feel like you're in a good spot for these heat races?
I think so. Now I know that obviously they split up for the heats and all that, so I don't exactly know where I'll be starting for the heats, but I think it was 9th overall. So I don't know, just got to make it through the first 2 turns, and then everybody seems to slot in, at least in my experience with here. So once I get through those 2 turns, everything should settle out, and then that's when the racing will happen, and everything will be fine.
All right, good luck, Brandon.
Thank you.
Brandon Lemke is one of 2 big names that returns from a major operation this weekend to running on their own, and Talon Yockel is doing the same thing with him and his father after a short stint with Sodi Racing USA and spending the last couple of years with Magic Kart USA. And, you know, truthfully, again, that's one of the coolest parts, I think, of our sport, Caleb, is that, yes, there is a huge, huge value to being able to run with a race team, especially as you're a driver that's developing, to get another set of eyes to kind of tell you what you can do better, to be a second opinion, if you will, for kart setup or engine setup. But when you're a driver that gains enough experience, has driven enough, like Brandon Lemke, like Talon Yockel, you know how to work on your own kart. It's just as fun. It's low stress, and you're just kind of doing your own thing. Show up to the racetrack with your own little pop-up tent, pack your own sandwich lunches, and pack it up and go home. And I will say, going from a privateer to a team, I think the thing that Talon and Brandon probably will enjoy the most is when the weekend is done and there is no big tent teardown, there is no master race hauler that they would need to help pack up. They can put their 10x10 away, throw the cart into the back of the trailer, and they'll be on the road probably an hour before half the rest of the pits. We've got a pretty good spread here at the Stars Championship Series. Over the years, the competition's gone up, more race teams have showed up, and it's convenient for drivers that live far away, like Giovanni Santoro, who hails from the West Coast, so he flies in and uses the equipment that MPG Motorsports is able to provide. Logistically, it makes sense, but if you're close enough where you can, drive in, there's something to be said for just having fun and rocking up to the track with yourself, your dad, and maybe a buddy to help on the wrenches.
Yeah, no, for sure. Being a privateer, myself as well, it's kind of cool, keeping to yourself and being low-key, but it's also nice having that support from a team as well. So we'll see how the weekend progresses for a lot of these drivers, Talon Yockel and Brandon Lemke, of course. But our warm-up B for the KA Stars is wrapped up, and the kid on the pole position yesterday, James Overbeck, 58 flat. Very, very good lap time, and went 0.04 of a second quicker than what he did yesterday in the qualifying session. So very, very good track additions here this morning. James Overbeck there and leading Mick Gabriel away and just having a little fun down that back straightaway.
Yeah, the chicken wings are out for Mick Gabriel and James Overbeck, the two of them having a good time. And James obviously back in his blue suit. No more BJR, MDR, black and yellow colors for James Overbeck. It is all blue. And the older PPK red, white, and blue colored suit for James, as he has tried the official team suit now 2 weekends, and both weekends he has said, I have had nothing but bad luck with it, so we're going to put that voodoo doll back in the closet, and I'm going to pull the good suit out, the one that I've gotten good results in. So Overbeck on the blue suit, just as fast as he was yesterday, and just where he was yesterday results-wise as well. On top, Mick Gabriel right there in second. Ryan Crouch, very impressive. Talking about privateers, how about a privateer going to third in warm-up over Santora, Harrower, Obrutsky, Chase Adams, Andrew Hamill, Christian Maniz, Josh Campbell, the top 10. Campbell, the best of 4, or actually second best of 5 BJR MDR entries, down with behind Cameron Estes, Ben Gaunt, Presley Whitney, Seamus McKendry, and Ryan Bierman. 6, Markham actually, in Group B. And then down to 7 there with Malachi Height on the 904, all the way to the end with Kimmy Feister there on the AMAX Tony Kart in 25th. So that was Group B. We're on now with Group A for the warm-up session. This is the first of the final 2 sessions to go. OKN Junior is now on grid, and then it will be time to move into heat racing action. Again, we're just a bit behind the schedule, so we were set to go green with the heat races at 9:10. They are actually now a little bit further back. Actually, I shouldn't say behind schedule. There was a schedule adjustment at the beginning of the day made by the Stars Series. We're still going to end around the same time, but rather than starting at 7:30 like the original plan, we were able to start a little bit later, which, as we found out after we got to the track, Caleb, we could have slept for a couple more minutes.
Yeah, I could have slept for 30 minutes, but I mean, better to show up earlier than later. So we're here set up, and everything's going smoothly on our side as well. And
that's a much different song than you were singing about an hour ago.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah,
I would like some sleep.
Sometimes you seem to get off on the wrong side of the bed and end up a little bit grouchy until we get going.
Yeah, I mean, the 20-year-old side of me would have definitely liked to sleep the extra 30 minutes, but the professional adult side of me would have liked to be here early and get here to the racetrack to get going. But already lapping around, Finnegan Bailiff, Logan Mueller, Noah Jackson, and others continuing to circle and set in some lap times here. Finn was pretty close inside of the top 5 yesterday, but still looking to do whatever he can here in this morning warm-up session and figure out their Trinity Karting Group Kart Republic. Lap time starting to come in. Bailiff at the top. Steele second. Noah Jackson third. Logan Mueller fourth. CJ Bowman P5. And Alan Isambard to the top.
Uh-oh, we got problems for one of the JMF Racing factory karts. That is the 982 off on the side. And I believe that maybe Aiden Shimbashi that might have gone off. I'm going to double check that. No, who do we have there on the... No, he's in the 970. It's a different one of the JMF Racing factory karts, indeed, Caleb.
Yeah, not sure exactly what driver
Jaden
that
Harry.
was.
Jaden Harry in the 982.
Jaden Harry,
Jaden Harry
driver off the racetrack there, unfortunately, and an early end to his warm-up session here this morning. But already a lot of drivers kind of getting in the mix here, Xander, and showing that they have the pace. Isambard, Wolney, and others just really starting to show their hand here early this morning.
Well, from lap 1 on, the fast drivers always seem to find an edge, so the leaderboard still looks similar to what we'll see probably at the end of the session. Some drivers may take a little longer. Eli Warren there just now, jumping up into the top 10 to go third. But here comes a fast group across the line. Let's see what Wolney does on this next lap. He'll leapfrog Eli. Brandon Lemke on the privateer entered Tony Kart will go to second. Alan Isambard, top of the heap still on the Sodi. Finn Bailiff also jumping up the boards. He'll go to third. Luke Powers right behind his War Power teammate there. Fifth and sixth for the two of them, separated by 100th. Adam Maxwell, followed by Will Steele, Zach Frank, Noah Jackson, the top 10 as things stand here in Group A for KA Stars. Warm-up, OKN Junior still on deck here to roll. And 24 of the 25 getting laps in. Shimbashi actually the 972. The 982 again was Jaden Harry. Shimbashi 21st on that factory kart.
Yeah, and there you see Brandon Lemke there going through the last couple of corners. About to get to the front straightaway. Lemke currently sits third. Jackson Wolney actually just got dropped down at sixth, but he's slated across the line here shortly. What does it look like for Wolney? And it goes better. Only up to third. Powers to second. Isambard still at the top and ran a better time than Overbeck actually. Ran a better time this morning than Overbeck's qualifying time yesterday afternoon at 58.039, so 200ths of a second quicker than Overbeck yesterday. So very good pace out of that Sodi Racing USA machine this morning for Alan Isambard and Jackson Wolney as well. Qualified second overall and showing really good pace here this morning.
Yeah, here is Massimo Sunseri. In the PSL Karting Bureau Art. This is, I believe, his first weekend with the Red Army on the 960. Just getting passed there by Alan Isambard. Let's see if that lap hurt Isambard at all or if he's going to go better again. With Luke Powers closing in, the field has stayed within a 10th, but the 953, that time, did not go better, so he may get bumped from the top spot. Brandon Lemke will close up on him. He'll get to within a 10th and a half. Wolney improved a little as well. Didn't move much on the leaderboard. Still fourth. Adam Maxwell has since found some speed here in the closing stages of Group A. Finn Bailiff down to sixth. Vaughn Beasley, the privateer, in seventh. Eli Warren now down to eighth. Zach Frank and then Mason Surgener on the MPG Kart Republic rounding the top 10. Minute 20 to go for KA Stars Group A warm-up as Isambard crests the hill in the 953. There's a look at Mason Surgener leading the pack with another one of those Timmy Tech comp karts line behind him, and that was a big two-wheel moment for Lucas Zabo. That was the closest we've seen to someone going up and over in that left hairpin, and that was well over the limit for speed and right on the limit of staying right side up.
Yeah, holy moly, Lucas Zabo. That was super, super close. But Jackson Woney, very good lap time this time around. 58.026, top of the timing charts here. Isambard drops to second. Adam Maxwell, P3. Luke Powers fourth. And Lemke falls back to fifth. But already good pace out of Eli Warren here, sixth. Finnegan Bailiff, another driver who found himself fourth overall yesterday. He's down in eighth here this morning. So track conditions still continue to change. Lap times continue to change. And fast laps as well changing here for these KA Stars drivers.
Yeah, they are quite a bit. I mean, Adam Maxwell picked up a full 10th last time by. Lemke didn't improve much. Warren did a little. Wolney's going to have to get by Sunseri there as he trails Adam Maxwell, so this lap may not be as good. Brandon Lemke has also caught some more traffic here on the he's got right behind Luke Powers. Powers is going to hit for the pit lane. And Alan Isambard on that last lap sets down a flyer. 2 1/4 tenths better than the field. Big lap here at the end of this session for Alan Isambard. That time by a 57.795. That is the best lap we have seen so far this weekend here in KA Stars. Talk about pace here, and that tracks with what we've been mentioning this morning. This session will be probably the second best of the weekend. Tomorrow morning warm-up at the same time, but with another day of laying down more grip and rubber and another day for the field to figure out their setups and work on their driving. Might see even quicker times. And we're trying to keep a tab on everything because that might be a new track record for KA senior action here at MCC Kartplex, with the Rhino Liner added, with 3 major race weekends between the SCUSA Pro Tour, the Rotax Trophy East, and now here for the Stars Championship Series, laying down grip on this circuit. We are seeing times that are anywhere from 3 to 5 tenths better than the last time we broadcasted here with the same types of classes. So a 57.79, that is flying for Alan Isambard on the Sodi. Jackson Wolney, a 58 flat, puts him just like we mentioned, 2 1/4 tenths back. And then here's the rest of your top 10 late laps from CJ Bowman, moving him up the order. Will Steele did improve a little late in that session as well. But Isambard to Wolney, Maxwell, Powers, Lemke, Eli Warren, Bowman, Finnegan, Bailiff, Beasley, and then Steele the top 10. Jackson bumped out Zach Frank, Surgener, Zabo, Logan Mueller. Your top 15 here in Group A, back to Maccabee in 16th, and then down all the way to Joseph Gullin in 24th. With the KA Stars in the books, OKN Junior will be next up onto the racetrack here. We return for the last bit of our free coverage from the morning action. KC Free members will have all the heat races and A pre-finals later on. Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
I'm David Serra, 18-time Australian karting champion, and we're launching Kart Class. Kart Class is an advanced digital training program that suits a driver who's just starting out in the sport, all the way to the driver looking to win a national championship. In this program, you're going to be learning about how to find the ideal racing line and what an apex is. Braking and throttle markers, wet weather racing lines, and how to overtake other competitors. We target how to brake in the wet weather, and we look on the mental side of kart racing as well with our mental skills coach. At the completion of this program, you'll be lighting up purple sectors in qualifying, know when to defend on the opening laps, and how to pressure your opposition into mistakes. We teach you the tools to be resilient and how to get in the right frame of mind before a race. We look to complete the whole package by getting a strong mindset, a driving style to suit all conditions, strategizing your race, and getting the last 1% from your team. We'll teach you how to win the final lap of a race, driving the wet like Max Verstappen, and creating the perfect bubble for yourself to mentally be in the zone. To find out more, click the link below.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today. USA, a top-level performance team with unmatched hospitality, offering a full-service driver development program with year-round testing available in Miami, Florida, and the official North America racing team of Parolin Racing Chassis. Chassis and parts available at ParolinUSA.com. Welcome back to MCC for OKN Junior warm-up as we follow Nate Golseth on that Arcane Tony kart headed down the front stretch. His teammate, Davin Roberts, here coming down through turn number 1. 8 drivers on the charts for the OKN Junior division on its first full season of action. Talk with Joe Janowski a little bit about the class last race at King of the Castle. And, you know, again, kind of no expectations for the division. If it's an average of 10 to 12 drivers for a class's first year like this with, you know, again, we've seen some classes debut over the years with maybe some motor incentive programs and giving stuff away for free. Everything here, because it's not run by a specific engine builder, this is an FIA homologated class. This is the market, the industry, and the customer simply saying that they want to drive it. So to start off with 10 here, because there's always plenty that wait on the fence line and go, oh, I don't know if the numbers will be good. Is it going to work? Is it going to be a good engine? Is it going to be fun to drive? 8 taking the plunge here this week and averaging around 10 to 12 on the season is pretty healthy for what I think Joe anticipated in the rest of, the Stars crew with Christian Marsh and company. And it's just something cool. You know, he said, he's like, Xander, I've been a gearbox guy my whole life. You know, I love shifter racing. I never really did a ton of single-speed stuff when I got to full-size karts. And even then, you know, I would watch them. And I'd watch the direct drive races, and they look cool. I thought, you know, it looked pretty badass. So I want to bring that to my series. And brought the OKN over last year. Brought the OKN Junior version here this season. And we're watching Gage Korn, who has absolutely loved the package. He spent a good amount of time over the winter getting some more laps, getting acclimated with it. And he has started the weekend here kind of in a similar fashion to where he did, you know, the last 2. Making some inroads, making some strides, maybe kind of flying under the radar a bit, maybe not there, 4th or 5th. Then as qualifying hits, then heat races. And then we get to the main event, and Gage is normally right there. But Isaac Malcuit, super fast out of the gate at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and right now he is 4th on the PSL Karting Bureau Art.
Yeah, he was super quick right out of the gate. Yesterday, he was quick as well, finished 2nd in qualifying, only to Mad Max Weiland and the Magic Kart Machine. He finished 1st in the qualifying session, so he's going to start on the inside. Lap time yesterday in this OKNJ class, a 55.235, so we'll see what it looks like here this morning and how the lap times compare. For Chase Gassiele, who's quickest here at the moment, a 55.760, but we're going to expect that to continue to dwindle down as we're still fooling around with Gage Korn. Weiland just crossed the line. Gassiele again, a 55.7 for Chase Gassiele and his Coastal Inc. Nash Motorsports machine.
He was having a great run at Charlotte Motor Speedway at round 1 and obviously a big-time win at the King of the Castle a month ago as well. He's been fast everywhere we've gone in the OKN Junior class. He's been in the seat pretty actively. He was racing just last weekend at the Sunshine State Karting Challenge in Florida. Won there. Podiumed in a number of X30 Junior and KA Junior events already on the season. So quite a bit of hardware for the Coastal Inc. custom printing Nash driver. And this weekend he's shaping out to maybe get some more with a 10th gap back to John Antonino. But Mad Max Weiland was already looking to dive bomb him there in that last hairpin right in that moment, and then kind of botched it a little and cost himself some exit time. Chase is going to let him go anyway just to learn a bit and follow the Magic Kart driver through a lap because, well, Mad Max had him all covered in qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, he did, but at the moment it's Davin Roberts who just went quickest in his Ryan Perry Motorsports machine. A 55.651 for Roberts here early on. And Chase Gassioli still sits in that second spot. Weiland is fourth here at the moment after having to make that move on Chase Gassioli. Antonino just crossed a 55.9. His fastest of the session is a 55.8. So still just kind of warming up here this morning in this direct drive category for these junior drivers. And a lot of drivers have had a lot of fun, especially in this category. And it's a little different to the X30 Junior package. And Xander, you know a lot more than me. So what are some of the big differences that we see from the OKNJ to the X30 Junior?
Well, a lot of it is right on par with how we compare the OKN to the X30 Senior package, right? Both of them obviously are restricted versions, the Junior to the Senior. This package in general, first and foremost, the most obvious, there's a lot less to it. Talking even with Austin Olds' dad, Chris, about the OKN package, he's like, man, I was surprised for a second when we pulled it out of the box that was it. It's just the engine and the pipe and the airbox. There's no wiring harness. There's no onboard battery. There's no onboard starter. Again, to fire these engines off, they have to pump start them. Naturally, with that in mind, the rev range of when the car still really begins building power, the RPM is a lot higher of a number, which means that these cars don't get out of the corner necessarily as fast as a clutch-driven go-kart like a KA or X30. But where they make up for that is in the middle range all the way up to the rev limiter. So while Davin Roberts, if you looked at, let's say, just that run before the dog leg, he might be a little bit slower than, let's say, his KA kart, but then he's going to pick up a lot more speed. But then, as well, unlike KA, these guys have a rev limiter, which X30 Junior does, but the rev limiter for the OKN packages is down at 15,000 RPM, 1,000 lower than the X30 package. So all of that speed, all of that power is in a much narrower window. So it changes the way that you kind of look at gearing a little bit, you know, and it's actually a lot more similar, I think, when you're looking for gear to a 206 package, because very rarely in an X30 package with the range that it has, or a Rock GP or even a Rotax, do you find yourself kind of topping out the power band at all. But here, they're going to bounce the rev limiter probably from maybe halfway down the straightaway. Some of them might try to gear more for the corners and hit the limiter down the tram lines. So they're hitting the chip quite a bit on some racetracks that are like here at MCC, where you've got a lot of high speed and low speed. And that's why I think the racing was so good to kick off the year at Charlotte Motor Speedway, a track that was a lot of what we call mid-range power. Not super slow turns, but relatively slow, and not super long straightaways, but long enough. When you get, a track that's all in the same distance, either a super short track or a super big track like Newcastle, you can kind of gear to that. But when you have such a wide variety of corners and straightaways like here at MCC, you're trying to find the balance of how long can I stay on the limiter without losing ground to everyone else on the straightaways, so I have enough gear to get out of the corners, because I'm trying to stay roughly between that 10, 11,000 RPM, maybe 9,000, up to 15,000. And that sounds, 5,000 to 6,000 RPM is a decent range. And when you compare the X30 classes to the KA classes, the clutch engages at 2,500 RPM, 3,000 RPM, and they go to 16,000, or the KAs will rev past it. That's a much bigger window to play in. So really, it changes a bit on racing. And you'll notice here at MCC that they'll be able to pass in different places and not get over-undered. That right-hander before this long straightaway, we're going to see a lot of crossover moves in the KA classes and the Swift classes there. You won't really see that in the OKN class, because no matter what, they're all lugging it out of the turn until they get into the rev range. So as we watch the results pop on by, that was our last session here from warm-up. And we'll hear some more from our OKNJ and OKN Stars drivers as the weekend goes through. For now, though, this concludes our free coverage here from the Clash at the Club for Saturday, July 13th. Heat 1 for all the semi-pro classes is getting set to roll green here momentarily, with KA Masters beginning to fill the grid. We'll see you on the other side to KC Premium members.